right now, I want to get to a little college coaching carousel and some pro football coaching carousel, but some interesting moves in and out of the Big Ten recently. A lot was made of the changes that Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator at Ohio State, made midseason after the loss to Oregon, what they changed in scheme, and basically made a living hell for their opponents the rest of the season with their two safeties out there. Well, he's on the move now. He is not going back to Ohio State. He is going to rival Penn State. Now, Penn State lost their defensive coordinator, Tom Allen, to Clemson a week ago, and you're wondering, are they going to be able to hold things together? Well, they go out and get Jim Knowles, and according to Brett McMurphy, he tweeted earlier today, Ohio State DC Jim Knowles was asked by the school not to attend the Buckeyes' national title celebration while he deliberated his options. Knowles' representation tried to reach a deal with Ohio State a week before the title game and immediately after, but eventual offer was, quote, well below the competition, and Knowles signs a 3-year, $9.3 million deal with Penn State on Sunday.
Look, welcome to the world of football. Like college football. This is why I laugh anytime someone gets pissy about the NIL stuff. Here's a guy who, by the way, is a really good DC, but let's not act like this is like he was the defensive coordinator for Oklahoma State before this.
This isn't Spags.
No. Like he
did a really nice job this year.
Yeah, this is his coaching resume over the last 25 years. He was the defensive line coach at Western Michigan. He was the defensive coordinator at Western Michigan for 1 year, and then he was at Cornell. And then he was a defensive coordinator and linebacker coach at Duke, and then was a defensive coordinator at Oklahoma State. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with those Oklahoma State defenses. They weren't exactly like the end-all to be-all defenses.
They weren't known for their defense in Stillwater, if I'm not mistaken.
And then he was the coordinator at Ohio State. And yes, he did a really nice job this year after their defense got torched by Oregon. But, I don't know, the guy wanted $3 million.
Which is a lot for a college coordinator.
Well, it's the highest paid coordinator in the game.
Yeah.
So coming off that, he said, I want to be the highest coordinator in the game. And my guess is Ohio State went, no. Why exactly are we making you the highest paid defensive coordinator? Well, we just won a national title. And they're like, well, yeah, but was that all because of you?
So then I wonder by the same token, though, because we kind of had this conversation a little bit about the Cowboys and paying head coaches a while back. And now today, Ohio State, it was reported, was operating with a $37 million deficit in their athletic department this year or something. So maybe they are trying to tighten up the finances or something.
You can't just spend and never-ending cash. And believe me, I'm sorry.
And Ohio State is not the Cowboys.
No, they don't have an unlimited budget. And look, is it petty? Maybe, but look, if my defensive coordinator is
to me, the petty part was saying, don't come to the parade.
I also think it's petty, though, of him to think that it's some sort of a negative. If we're going to a championship parade and you're around my team and I know that you're about to go to our arch rival or
you might be leaving, I hadn't really considered the competition angle, the other side of that. I just assumed, hey, we just won this thing. We're celebrating together. We may part our separate ways.
But at the same time, in a world where everyone is recruiting everybody, is it fair to think that if that's a popular defensive coordinator,
he's going to try to take some guys with him?
I don't necessarily want him around my team and poaching players.
And I have heard that in today's college football, if you think a guy's going to move on, you need to cut bait immediately because the more time he spends around your players, the more chance he's going to poach them.
I know Oregon did it with some of their coaches they thought were moving on. They weren't having him recruit.
Yeah,
they were like, dude, we
can't have you talking to players that you might be trying to sway to go somewhere else.
Exactly. One, you don't want them actually recruiting for another school, or you don't want them trying to build a really strong relationship. And then even if they are not recruiting for the other school, the moment they decide to leave, they're like, hey, by the way, I know we have a really good bond and I'm heading over here. So is it petty? Maybe, but I also think it's
reasonable.
I think it's reasonable.
Sure.
And so this idea that Jim Knowles is the reason why Ohio State won a national title or Penn State's going to get over the hump, you can find a really good defensive coordinator for $3 million. And so I don't know what they think of Jim Knowles at Ohio State. Obviously, they didn't think enough about him to give him $3 million because they said it's substantially lower. And let me just say.
So where's Penn State getting that money? Or maybe
they're just like they're desperate because they're like, we can't get over the hump and let's take a swing. Look, we're all operating under the assumption that people have a similar pool of money. And, money gets allocated different ways. Ohio State's probably going to have to pay $4.5 million to keep Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
Penn State doesn't have a player that they're going to have to pay $4.5 million to keep.
Nope.
Or maybe.
Wait, Drew Aller's not coming back for $4 million?
No. I don't think Drew Aller's going to cost $4 million. If someone wants to give Drew Aller $4 million, dude.
It's Miami who paid Carson Beck $4 million.
Yeah, be my guest. Have at it. So, this is just kind of the nature of the beast. But this is why I never get pissy and moany about NIL, because this is what coaches do, and this is what coaches have always done. Last year, when Saban retired, Dan Lanning, Steve Sarkisian, and Mike Norvell all used that job to get extra money for them, their school, and their staff.
Yep.
Every single one of them. And by the way, I think they're all represented by the same agent.
I think that's right. Yeah.
So look, every one of those guys held their school hostage to get big fat raises for them and for others. Welcome to the world of big time athletics. So this to me is a bit of a, I don't know. I think it's just it's petty, sure, but it's a bit of an eye roll. And by the way, Ohio State's going to be fine.
Yeah,
I promise you that the next defensive coordinator they hire, Jim Knowles was not Jim Knowles before he got to Penn State, or before he got to Ohio State.
It's amazing how good or how well good players can make a coach better.
Yeah, dude. If I've got 7 guys that are going to probably go in the first 3 rounds of the defensive on my defensive unit, I probably should be pretty good. I would think so. And made adjustments, but you also got torched by Oregon in that first game, which I thought was a really piss poor game plan.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
Be careful when you go to a school.
Yeah, you just kept getting burned over and over again by man coverage.
Yeah.
And
so just be careful with Jim Knowles. Jim Knowles is not the end all to be all at Ohio State, which is why you saw them say $3 million. No.